Hi everyone, shooting a proper YouTube video after a very long time. So I'm going to read out something from my book. So the introduction to this book I have given so many times on the channel and I have spoken about the author's note and all these things. So this book is about courageously doing the things that you really want to do, going after your authentic desires and being yourself truly. No matter if people feel you make rejected or unaccepted or whatever happens, but you being true to your core values. That is how you develop a healthy sense of self-esteem. Self-esteem means what? What is the image that you have about yourself? So if I'm giving you some kind of work depending on your competency, you should not get into the loop of self-doubt saying that I don't know how I'm going to do it. If you even don't know, you might try it, build up your self-confidence, give yourself the permission to make mistakes, and then see how you become a very efficient person at completing the tasks. So what should we read today? I have so many chapters. I'll read something that is of everybody's use. Let's read from Fear of Failure. I think let's take that chapter today. So we will read out from Fear of Failure. Okay. It is important to address common psychological fear that we experience. These fears make the process of being a proactive action taker more tedious. One such fear is the fear of failure. Let's get our basics right. We human beings are not designed to fail. We have been designed to learn through contraction and expansion. Now, contraction and expansion, by which I mean the internal states that we feel. When we are happy, when we are succeeding, when we are achieving, when everything is happening the way we want it to happen, we feel expanded. And when things are not happening the way we want them to happen, we feel restricted. We feel that there is a very low range of motion that we can do. There is very little that we can control. But this is how we learn, through these cycles of constant contraction and expansion. So only when you feel restricted for a little while, you know how freeing expansion is. By contraction, I mean the feeling of being restricted. Expansion is the feeling of being free and limitless. When our thought process, our actions are determined to our own well-being, we feel contracted. Okay, are detrimental, we feel contracted, means our actions are not in line with our larger well-being or with our larger goals. That is when we feel contracted. When we add up to someone else's well-being, we feel satisfied and expanded. That means we have added some value which makes us feel expanded. I like to see life as creator's playground. That means, if you have heard this thing, that we are here to live life quite playfully actually, and the creative energy has set up a playground for us to play. So in the playground, sometimes we miss, sometimes we hit, but we are enjoying the game no matter what happens. There is only one law which we need to understand properly if we want to enjoy playing on this playground. That is the law of cause and effect. Creation is very fair. Every result is generated by a cause. If you generate the right causes, you will get the right results. How do you know what is the right cause to generate if you are naive in your field of venture? So naive means you are very new to something. So if you want to try out something new, especially something that has not been done by a lot of people, that is the time when fear of failure will creep in. Okay, so that how will you handle yourself? I've given some points about it. Trial and error will be an immensely enriching way of learning. Now, some people find it extremely unstructured to go for hit and trial and error, doing action and seeing what is working and what is not working. But the most rich learning happens in this method, okay? Because you are taking the first-hand experience, and there is such a lot of depth to your knowledge and understanding when everything you have experienced is of your own. So if you have time, then trial and error is a very good method to go for. If you are restricted of time and other resources, seek mentorship from experts. Now, if you really want to get things right because you have limited resources, sometimes time, sometimes money, then you cannot waste a lot of it in trial and error. So seeking mentorship of somebody is a great thing. Why do we don't want mentorship or to be trained by someone? We have this ego of doing it all by ourselves. You can do it if you want for the richness of experience, but the condition, you must have that kind of time and money if you want to. So it gets easier when someone has your back. Be connected to a community of people who are on a similar journey. For example, if you are an entrepreneur or a first generation business owner, find a community where people discuss practical challenges. It gives you a feeling that you are not alone. This is so important, especially when you are doing something as risky as entrepreneurship, or you're the first one in your family who has set up a business. Then being in a community where you're seeing that the challenges you and someone else is facing has a lot of similarity to it, you will not feel alone in this journey. And fear of failure is also very daunting because you feel alone. You feel that you have been separated from a group of people who were against you when you took the decision of entrepreneurship or business. Okay, so switch between microscope and telescope when you're planning to have a massive impact on other people's life. So you need both. You need farsightedness and you need attention to detail. So when you find yourself getting lost into the details, zoom out a little bit and see the bigger picture. If you are getting overwhelmed, oh my god, this is all I want to do, I want to achieve all this kind of profits at the end of this year, how am I going to do it, all of that. So that is the time when you need to zoom in a little bit and see what is the next right step you want to do. So I remember what I have written, that's why I did not read the whole thing. We fear failure because we have overhyped success. That is why success feels unattainable. So if you overhype something and keep it on the pedestal, if you see failure and success are similar kind of events, if you become that neutral to these two words, you will never have the fear of failure in the first place. But we have made it a huge a huge thing. Success, we have made success a huge thing, and we need to celebrate our fears as much as our failures as much as we celebrate success, because failure after all is an attempt, and you know how you felt restricted in that particular situation, and appraising yourself for it is very important. You can give feedback the next day to yourself, but appreciate yourself for taking the action in the first place. What does it really take to be successful? Tenacity. It is the determination to continue what you are doing. People who constantly work towards their dreams and desires never fail. So if you stop at one point, for example, I've designed a workshop and I did all the planning, but not that many people turned up, or let's take the worst case, nobody turned up. So what is the next response I give to myself? So instead of criticizing my whole decision of becoming a life coach or a trainer, or self-criticizing for every small thing that has happened, first I appreciate myself for at least planning all these things. And the next day I might go and see what went wrong, how could I have campaigned it better, or what could I have done, what kind of message did I put up. So all this happens, and if people are seeing my work again and again, and I am putting myself out there again and again through so many means, there will be some day at least where I see the kind of results and I am able to deliver the impact that I want to, but I have to learn from my own experience. The quality of life does not depend on the number of failures or success. It solely depends on how you respond to them. Failure is an indicator to learn more. Success is an indicator that you are on track. They do not mean anything else. What really matters for human beings is not the long run, how satisfied we feel with our actions. Tony Robbins says, and I quote, "Success is science, but satisfaction is an art." There are formulas to succeed. There are particular time-tested frameworks to succeed in a particular venture. So as I said, find a mentor. That mentor will give you all these frameworks. Satisfaction comes with involvement, getting lost in what you're doing and becoming one with the process. Just like I am writing this book now, I am lost in writing this book. It was so hard for my teacher to make me sit at one place and make me complete my notebooks in school. Hours have passed and I still feel like writing more. So I remember I had been continuously sitting for 3 hours when I wrote this line, and I was appreciating myself while I am writing. This is what happens when you follow your bliss. You experience a creative flow, you get healed. It will remind you through your actions how much you have to give to this world. Now, as I said that I got healed when I wrote this book. When I was sitting into that creative flow for 3 hours, for 4 hours while writing, I just went on, and it made me feel so good about myself. That is why I think this book has become a huge success for me. Okay, so here is a thing that I will end my reading session, and there are other stories as well. And let's read, okay, before I end this, let's read the story because I love the story. Once upon a time, there was a farmer. He was very annoyed with God because God used to challenge the weather regularly by sending storms, heavy winds, etc. Every time the weather changed, this farmer gets anxious about his crop being destroyed due to the weather. One day he decides to speak to God. He goes to God and says, God, you do not know anything about farming or growing crops. You just keep changing the weather, causing them so much trouble to grow. God asks, what do you want me to do? The farmer replies, I have been farming for so many years. I know everything about crops. Please give me the control of weather. God gives him the control of weather. The farmer manages the weather meticulously, sows the seeds, switches on adequate rainfall, not even a drop less or more, gives sunshine, etc. His crop grow tall and become ready to harvest. He first harvests the maize crop. After harvesting the seed, he sees that there is no seed in the pod. The maize pods were empty. He ran back to God and asked, I did everything right. Then why are my maize pods empty? God replies, you fool, you gave all the comfort to your crops. You did not blow the heavy winds. When heavy winds blow, the crop takes their roots deeper into the soil and absorbs the required nutrition. Discomfort is essential to grow deeper roots and nourish ourselves. We are afraid